Okay, so today we're gonna do something I just know will result in people being mad at me, and that is a suit ranking. Marvel Spider-Man was the first game to really spoil us with suits. Other games had them, but never to this extent, so even if some of the suits are stinky, I love that there's so many to choose from. I've spent a few days mulling it over, and at this point, I now have come down to my definitive suit ranking for Marvel Spider-Man. I don't think this is going to be too controversial, though I do think my number 6 spot is going to be a bit of a hot take. It's funny because I actually like almost every suit a lot, so deciding this list took much longer than I expected. I want to try and really articulate why I chose to put these suits in their respective slots and offer something with some real insight, so this video isn't just some guy yelling at you. So without further ado, we'll be going from worst to best, starting with... Ew, dude, what the fuck is that? The Arachnid Rider suit was the only time I thought to myself, this thing sucks, throughout the entire game. Its comic shading feels far too out of place given how saturated it is, and the design of the suit itself is a bit too sharp on the eyes, making it a suit I've only used once when I first unlocked it, and never again. You know, typically when Tony Stark designs suits, they end up pretty sick, and I'll tell you for free, the Fear Itself suit is not one of those times. If I had to guess, this was the suit that made Tony decide to go to rehab, because you have to be all kinds of fucked up to make a suit like this. It's just so ugly. I mean, the color scheme is fine enough, I guess, but the gauntlets themselves are the biggest turnoff because it ruins the proportions of the character, like we're swinging around with Hulk hands on us. I'll admit the suit power quad damage does sweeten the deal, but suit powers are not factoring into our rankings today. At this point, we're entering the territory of meh suits. I don't outright dislike them, but they likewise never really got picked. My greatest motivation for stopping Mr. Negative was that someone needs to be held accountable for this. Look, in very specific instances where we're actually in the negative zone, the suit isn't too bad, but otherwise it feels so out of place. I think it's a cool idea, but in practice it's never really something I've been fond of. The Eichmann suit looks great on paper, like literally in the comics it's fine, but once we see it in the game, the large boots really put me off of it. I like the combination of metallic bulk with more leather looking fabric around the legs, but the fact that we're wearing some rocket boots without fuel means that, again, the proportions feel a little off. Most spider armors are tough to nail, and I think as far as an adaptation goes, it's pretty good, but we unfortunately have far better spider armors in the game. Both the black and gold suit and the hybrid suits are interesting because they both have better counterparts and both are equally ugly. Having the hybrid suit is fine, even if every other Holland suit is better, but the inside out suit just looks off, and truthfully I forgot about these suits because they are just that unappealing. You know what's worse than hating a suit? Being completely indifferent to them. The Cyborg Spider-Man suit is really interesting because it starts a trend where I like the suit in the game way more than in anything else. Comic-wise, I was never a huge fan of it, just design-wise I couldn't get behind it, but I will admit that the adaptation of it in the game, especially in the PS5 Remastered, looks great, but that doesn't save the design itself from being a bit eh. I will say I like the saturation of the suit here. It clearly uses the classic suit as a base, but the more washed out colors are a great alternative that I'd like to see more of. Spider-Clan has a soft spot in my heart, despite ranking so low, because it brings back memories of Spider-Man Unlimited, a mobile gacha game, and the first character I ever unboxed was him. In spite of that, this suit just doesn't do it for me, especially when other cel-shaded suits look much better. I never got into the Spider-Man manga, so that might be why I don't love it as much, but at least they actually changed the proportions of this suit to make it fit better. Being the first Insomniac original, I guess aside from the negative suit, is the Resilient suit, and yeah, it's okay I guess. I like what they were going for with this suit, but the colors are a bit too dark for me to really enjoy it. The shading too gives a weird in-between of either leather or metal, and not to mention the eyes are way too narrow, and that sounds... oh fuck me, this is so getting clipped. I'll admit, the Secret Wars suit has definitely grown on me over the years. If you asked me when this game came out, I'd say this was at the bottom, but as you can see, it's moved up a bit. It's simply the stark blue against the red webbing that mostly throws me for a loop. I enjoy when there's some kind of cohesion to a suit, and yet the blue sticks out so much. Who knows, maybe in a few more years this will rank even higher. Being electro-proof does not mean you have to be drip-proof too, okay? Because for as much as this suit is cool from a tactical and lore standpoint, it certainly lacks in the style department. If the game had a thunderstorm weather setting, this would probably get much more use from me, but as it stands, the inflated pieces of the suit make me feel like I'm swinging around as a Michelin Man, and when you're fat and bald like me, you get reminded of that shit enough. The bombastic Bagman suit is in a weird spot for me because while I do think it's a great suit from the neck down, once we get to the bag part, I lose a lot of interest. It's a funny suit, and the story behind it is better, But with the bag, I'm constantly barred off from running around with a headcanon that Spider-Man in this universe joined the Fantastic Four, even if the future Foundation suit was added in the same update. There's actually a mod for this suit on Spider-Man 2 that looks so much better because it removes the bag. Next up is the Ghost Spider suit. For as much as I find this suit to be one of my last picks, I do think it earns a lot of points for style and for the fun factor. A suit where Spidey is basically naked and has a flaming skull for a head, I feel like not a lot of developers would actually go for that. It's a bit too outlandish for the game standards, so I never really use it, but it is an admittedly cool suit that doesn't feel over-designed, as so many suits these days are. I really want to like the Spider-Punk suit, especially after seeing the latest Spider-Verse movies, but something about it just never clicked with me. I think a basic suit with street clothes on top works shockingly well, but you need to go all the way with it, not just throw on a denim vest and call it a day. It also feels a little out of place given Peter's race, like, is that fucking blackface, dude? The armored advanced suit feels a bit redundant, given that it accomplishes the same thing the anti-Ock suit does, but I appreciate the attempt at making a more high-tech version of the advanced suit, a suit I love. But this fails firstly for being simply over-designed, an issue I suppose a lot of modern suits fall into, but it also has too much white. Part of what makes the advanced suit feel fresh is that it has white as a highlight, but when white is the primary color, it reduces the iconic color scheme of Spider-Man to a footnote. I like having remixes with Insomniac originals though, even if this one isn't my favorite. The 2099 white suit is a great alternative to one of the most iconic Spider-Man suits, but once again, the suit borders incredibly close to being over-designed, and I think it shares an issue with the 2099 suit, which is that it doesn't go for the color black, instead in this case going for a charcoal gray. In a similar regard, we get the 2099 suit, which some have criticized for being blue instead of black. A lot of media have represented this suit as blue, and I think it still looks good when it is blue, but the best middle ground is to find a deep blue that is closer to black than what we have. I also think this particular suit doesn't complement Peter's body composition, as I heavily prefer a build that is more top-heavy for a suit like this. So this is a complicated entry for me because by nearly all metrics, I love this suit, and it's from one of the best Spider-Man movies, and yet, seeing as how Miles Morales introduced the Spider-Verse effects, this suit feels like it lacks sauce in comparison. Regardless, I still like the base design even if it basically is the classic suit. In a similar vein, we have the vintage suit, which I think fits the game's aesthetic more given how well it contrasts with the realistic tone. Being able to throw out quips while playing helps plenty, but the real strength of this suit is that the colors are a bit darker, which despite the aforementioned contrast, helps it feel like a better part of the world. Okay, this might be my first controversial pick, but the Scarlet Spider suit just doesn't hit like it used to. Not having an option to have the hood up severely limits usability, and further, the large bracelets and belt make this feel, from a fashion perspective, a bit drab. I used to like this suit a lot more because it featured the hood, but we've since seen much better suits featuring street clothes, leading me to rarely use this suit. When it comes to spider armors, this is still one of my favorites. Despite not using it that much, it nails the problem many armored suits fall into, which is proportions. This suit doesn't have goofy moon shoes or a massive helmet for no reason. Every part of it is balanced, and while this in lore feels like an overkill suit, I still love it. Okay, so the undies suit isn't exactly a suit, seeing as it's a mask and some boxers, but what this suit represents is what makes it rank highly on this list. It's a fun suit that showcases Insomniac's ability to be unserious in a product that is otherwise taken very seriously. It's also a great trophy of sorts, being only obtained after completing 100% of the game. The Velocity suit is another Insomniac original centered on a more high-tech interpretation, but in this case, it worked out great. Coming alive most at night, the Velocity suit is the perfect suit for blending a newer design with the old school colors. It's like a better resilient suit, and was at one point one of my favorites. There's a lot of people who I think unreasonably hate anything to do with Tom Holland's Spider-Man, and that extends to the suits, but you know what? I think in this game, this suit looks great. It fits the more high-tech aesthetic of the gadgets as well as looking great within the game's lighting. Sure, as far as an Iron Spider suit goes, it is a bit jumbled, but the end product is one I really don't mind. The bulletproof spider armor should be a lot lower on this list, but the big saving grace is the popped collar around the top. It just brings the suit to a whole nother level of freshness, and I absolutely love it. There are certain suits that lend themselves especially well to stealthy scenarios, and this is one of them. A great balance of reinforced armor and practicality. The wrestler suit starts out a bit of a trend in this list, and any future lists I do, where you'll see that I really like homemade suits. Maybe it's because it seems more grounded, but I always love the parts of a hero's story where they're still grappling with their powers and using some kind of thrown together suit because they simply don't have the resources for anything else. In this case, the wrestling suit is a great reminder to the comic days, and of course reminds me of the human spider in the first Raimi movie. The ESU suit isn't much, but again, like the undies suit, it represents a trophy of sorts, seeing as how you need to do an unmarked quest to unlock it. There's some part of me that always loves swinging around in civilian clothes, and while forcing us to keep the mask on isn't my favorite, and does bring this suit down for me, this is still the closest we get. The Stark suit, otherwise known as the Homecoming suit, is another suit that looks excellent in this game. I actually don't love the suit itself, but once again it fits the aesthetic of the game and is one of the best adapted suits as far as looking like its movie counterpart. Proportionally, I think Peter fits this suit the best out of the movie suits too. I remember when this game came out and I did a playthrough with exclusively this suit pretending it was the next MCU Spider-Man movie. The big time suit is simplistic but fulfills a bit of a niche exclusive to this game, being dark suits. Obviously, everyone wants the black suit, but we don't have one, so a lot of symbiote adjacent suits make their way up the list through novelty alone, and of course it helps that this suit looks great on its own too. The Future Foundation suits is one of my favorite suits for the character and would honestly be much higher on the list if the fabric of the suit was a bit more detailed and if they did something about those eyes, man. I know that, he's a bug and all, but that doesn't mean we have to give him actual bug eyes. Both of the classic suits go here because they are mostly the same, however the damage suit does have a slightly darker tone to it. Both of these suits are a great rendition of the classic Spider-Man look that was integral to Insomniac. They perfectly communicated with this suit alone the idea that they were not here to change what Spider-Man is, they were simply here to add to the foundation. And when the foundation looks like this, we know that they know what they're doing. The Spider Armor Mark I is a tried and true classic and has a special place in my heart because it previously showed up in Web of Shadows, but I also like how simple it is. It's like slapping a bulletproof vest and some knee pads on, and something about that simplicity makes it more appealing. The Iron Spider suit looks fantastic. I mean, God, need I say more? The suit looks amazing and fits the aesthetic of the game remarkably well, looking even better when we consider the spider arms that change color for this suit specifically. Proportions look good, it's not over-designed, there isn't much else to say. It's great. Movie suits are tough for me to rank because there is such a nostalgia factor, and while I don't love the Amazing Spider-Man suit, I do love how it looks in this game. Especially at night, this suit feels great, and once again, I was able to fall into the fantasy of this being an Amazing Spider-Man 3 movie. It's a shame we didn't get the Amazing Spider-Man 2 suit in this game, but the first movie suit gets points for reworking the classic design and trying something new. Okay, here's a controversial pick. The Raimi suit at number 12? Damn, and yeah, I love this suit. It's one of my favorites of all time, but I have to be honest, a lot of that is nostalgia, and a big reason it didn't crack the top 10 is because I think they adapted this suit poorly. The colors just don't feel right, and the proportions don't feel right either. When we compare this to the Raimi suit in Spider-Man 2, it's night and day. The Dark suit is another suit that gets elevated purely by the fact that we didn't have a symbiote suit at the time, but even with that novelty gone, it's still a good design, and I like the addition of claws on the suit, as it brings to mind a more brutal cat burglar kind of vigilante. My only gripe is that I'm not a huge fan of the logo's design. Starting off the top 10 with the Noir suit makes sense because it hits a lot of my favorite parts of Spidey suits. Something unique? Check. Something dark? Check. Well translated from the source material? Check. And fits the game's aesthetic? Check. What more can I say? This shit's a classic, man. The Last Stand suit is one of my favorite homemade-esque suits because it provides a darker take on the homemade style that doesn't resemble a luchador or some kind of wrestling outfit. It reminds me a lot of the Vigilante suit from the first Amazing Spider-Man, a suit I really hope we see in Spider-Man 3. Alright bros, hear me out. This suit, while not being my favorite movie suit, is the best adapted suit, as it looks nearly identical to the way it does in the movie, and is a better version of the Stark suit, providing a better contrast between the black and the red. If you look at the rest of the roster, proper black and red suits are a commodity, so this suit fills a niche and looks great doing it too. The Spider Armor Mark IV is my favorite rendition of the classic suit in this game. It's bright, it's got a great texture to it, and the slightly emboldened logo looks fantastic. I have no reason to use the classic suit over this unless I'm specifically going for a more grounded and desaturated look. Alright, this is my first massive hot take, and I should mention that I don't have an affinity for the UK, but I do think that this suit is fantastic because it remixes the traditional Spider-Man design for something that is not only representative of a country, but allows for simplicity. I love the shade of blue chosen for the suit, and the fact that they didn't over-design this suit and comfortably left the bottom half plain works in the suit's favor. The Scarlet Spider 2 suit follows in the same steps as the Spider UK suit, but offers the aforementioned oh-so-desirable black and red color scheme. It brings to mind an angrier Spider-Man, and the emblem looks great too. I should mention that there's a fair bit of bias here because the Scarlet Spider suit was the first alternate Spider-Man suit I grew attached to, so seeing it here made me very happy, and it's a damn shame it didn't return in the second game. The homemade suit from Spider-Man Homecoming is by far the best homemade suit there is because not only does it actually look homemade, but it looks like a Spider-Man suit. When we think of the wrestling suit, we can see that there was no intention of being a vigilante. It's clear that that life fell upon Peter in that instance. This suit was designed with the direct intention of fighting crime with it, and the low-budget haphazard nature of it is perfect. The Anti-Ox suit holds a special place in my heart because of the narrative implications. Not only is the design amazing, being inspired by Otto's arms, but it represents the need for Peter to fight fire with fire and to meet his greatest friend on his terms as his greatest foe. When Insomniac designed the advanced suit, it was clear that it was meant to be building upon the foundation of the classic suit. But the Anti-Ox suit is their way of presenting a completely new suit that feels earned. They earned the right to somewhat abandon the classic suit because everything leading to that moment was great. Alright, I hope you guys have a good one. Sorry, I just wanted to say goodbye to everybody who clicked off the video because of this pick. I know this comes from a movie that people generally didn't like, but I love the look of the Night Monkey suit because it feels feasible in the game's universe and looks great at all angles. It feels like a homemade suit if Peter had a budget larger than a paperclip and string, and it's by far the best dark suit in the game, and the best homemade-esque suits justifying its spot here. I feel like if you watched any of my Spider-Man videos, then you know I absolutely love this suit, and it is by far the best Spider-Man suit ever made, dethroning other favorites of mine like the Raimi suit, the House of M suit, and the Scarlet Spider 2 suit. Context is important for this suit because this was Insomniac's first time taking a stab at the Spider-Man character, and I believe this is why the suit works so well. We can see that this isn't a new Spider-Man suit, it's simply a remix of the classic. It maintains the color scheme, the proportions, and what it does add, the white spider logo, is a damn near perfect addition. I think this suit is a triumph in design and hasn't been topped, not even by the Advanced Suit Mark II. Symbolically, this suit represents a victory from Insomniac. This suit is only introduced after the game showcases to the player that it understands classic Spider-Man. And now proving that to the player, this suit says, now look at how we can add to the character. I can complain all day about Insomniac, their games, their Spider-Man games, but this suit will always be perfection to me. I know that there's a common issue being that the suit is too orange, but I'm gonna be honest, ever since I upgraded to an OLED monitor, the suit has looked like actually pretty red, so even that issue for me has been solved. Well, I hope this list didn't annoy you too much, and feel free to drop your rankings below. Since there's a billion suits, maybe just drop your bottom 3 and top 3. This is by no means a definitive list, and I hope that's obvious about any of the videos I make. Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, I don't mind doing one for Miles Morales and Spider-Man 2. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.